Guys, what's going on? It's Joe from GadgetryTech.com, and today we are reviewing the Devas from HIFIMAN. These are $300 planar magnetic open back headphones with Bluetooth support in the box. With that being said, let's crack it open and see what they look like. Okay, now it's time for the unboxing, but before we do that, let's take a look at the packaging real quick so I can point out a couple things. The front is pretty basic, hi-fi headphone with Bluetooth dongle, and it says the name, which is Deva, not Diva. If we look at the specs, it says open back, which we covered very briefly in the beginning, but we will explain that more detail later. 20 to 20,000 hertz operating frequency. The impedance is 18 ohms, which is fairly low compared to some other higher end headphones, but that does help offset the fact that these have a little bit lower sensitivity, which is 93.5 decibels, which means it requires a bit of power to drive properly. Transmission, USB, Bluetooth USB. There's also analog support. We'll show you that in a moment. And then these are all the codecs it supports if you're using the built-in DAC. It's kind of nice because if you have a Qualcomm enabled chipset that does the aptX HD, that will give you really good sound quality. And then of course the AAC, SBC, etc. Built-in microphone on the Blue Mini, which is great. And battery playtime, I wanted to point out this specifically because 4 hours is low. However, that's worst case scenario. If you are using it in USB DAC mode, if you use it as in Bluetooth mode, you can get as much as 7 to 10 hours off a single charge, which is much better. And I think that's how more people will be using it. So anyway, with that being said, let's open this thing up and take a look at what is inside, because that's what we're here for. And I gotta say, I'm not just saying this because we're reviewing this product. If you look at this, this is easily one of the best manuals I've seen on a product before. It tells you how planar magnetic drivers work and why you get the sound quality that you do, the accessories inside, everything about their super nano diaphragm, which is new. There's the name of the product, how to remove the ear cups, and then even if you get farther in, it tells you how to operate the Blue Mini, which is the most critical page in this book because it might not line up to the buttons and stuff that you think. And then of course you have your warranty card. So in the box, you have a balanced TRRS cable. Basically with this cable, you have a 4-band prong on one side and then a 3-band on the other. The black end goes into the headphone and the silver goes into your player, whether it be a headphone amp, receiver, phone, whatever it may be. You do get a 1/4-inch adapter in here to the 6.35 millimeter. And then this is actually really nice. I'm going to open this just to show you because a lot of these companies, even though they can work via USB, a lot of headphone manufacturers give you the crappiest, shortest USB cable in the box because they're like, oh, they can always just use their own. This is a premium USB-C cable. It's braided, it's very long, it's well made. I've used this a lot. We just wrapped it back in, but yeah, this cable can be used as your primary source for connecting to the Blue Mini. So with that being said, let's look at the Blue Mini. This is important to show you how these buttons work. So it looks like there's a clip on it. It's actually not a clip. It's literally just a pressure point that helps keep it in place more on the headset. I haven't had a problem with this staying on my ear cup. It stayed on no problem, and then I think it just makes it easier to remove, a little bit less resistance. This is a balanced headphone jack that goes into it, or a headphone prong, which is kind of cool, and that probably helps with the sound quality, but we will get into that in a moment. So there are 2 buttons on the bottom, and then you have a status light here, and this is your reset. The status light will be green, red, or blue, depending on what's going on. Almost everything is done through this button on the right. This button is only if you turn it on, which we'll do by holding it down for 2 seconds. If you press and hold this, you should see a single red flash. That means that it is no longer in USB power mode. So USB DAC mode now means that it will not take power from a device. So this own battery will power the headphone, and the USB output of your device will not charge this at the same time. If you press it again, we can turn it back on. There you go, the 2 blinks. So now I know if I plug it into my phone, it'll charge this device. The reason why they give you the option to turn that off is if you don't want to drain the battery of your phone. You can have this do all the work, and then your mobile device will last longer as a result. Everything else is done through here. Press and hold it down to turn it on and off. Press it for 2 seconds to put it in pairing mode, and it'll start searching for a device. This does hold up to 8 devices in memory, which is awesome. Most people don't need more than that. I love that they give you that because some headphones only do 1 or 2, and that can be a real pain. So this works really well. We'll talk about the performance of that after, but that's how it works. Now for the good stuff, the Devas. I want to point out some things here because planar magnetic Open back headphones means that a lot of air can get in and out, and it sounds almost the same on the outside. If you see the light is shining through, that right there is the planar magnetic driver. It's not like a traditional speaker where you have a cone and voice coils and all that stuff. So if you put your ear up on this side of the speaker, you'll actually hear volume pretty well, almost as if you're on the inside. The ear cups are on the inside though, so that's where the sound is intended to come out, of course. You have left and right. If you cover these, they will not sound that good at all. They are designed to breathe, so I want to point that out. The only downside to planar magnetic is the noise isolation. So if you are in a bedroom or a busy workplace and you crank these up really loud, everyone around you will hear it. Conversely, if you listen to this at a low volume in a noisy environment, you will hear everything in your noisy environment. They are designed for quiet spaces where you don't have to worry about other people hearing you. With that being said, if you have that situation where you can use these, you will be rewarded greatly with phenomenal sound quality. So we'll get into the audio in a moment, but I want to show you the headband. It feels more firm when it's on your head because of the pressure dispersion, but if you squeeze, this is actually a decent amount of padding there, which is great. So it's really well made there. Unlike the Sundaras, this seems to hold up really well to wear. This is a metallic frame, so it's going to hold up extremely well. I haven't seen any extreme signs of wear over using this. This little groove helps a lot. And it's built extremely well. There's been no noise, no rattles or anything like that. And even though these don't fully swivel to go flat, there's a little bit of movement so you can have it positioned very comfortably on your head. That means you won't have like a hot spot where one side pushes harder than the other because of the shape of your head. So we're going to get into the audio test. The only other thing I want to show you is if we remove the ear cups, which are removable. It's not too hard to do. Let's pop this off. Okay. That is what a planar magnetic driver looks like. It's awesome. Now it's time to plug these in and we'll do some audio demos and I can explain why these are so great and they are my new favorite headphone. All right, so now it's my favorite part of the review and that is the demo, listening to music. This has been a very easy headset to break in because I've enjoyed using them so much. It's basically been my go-to. So you really want to play them for about 30 to 40 hours before they kind of, I guess, warm up a little bit. They're a little bit brighter when you first plug them in, and I feel like after listening to them for a long time, they're a bit smoother now. They just sound better. So anyway, with that being said, we have the Avengers Blu-ray to get the Dolby True HD sound, and then I have the a FLAC audio source from the little convention in Vegas called DEF CON. They have these really good audio sources that you can use, or they have like a soundtrack every year. So I'm going to play that on this, talk about the performance, and then I have another $300 headset that is it's not open back or planar magnetic. It is a traditional headset, but it's important to compare it because I think a lot of people in the $300 price range, they don't exactly know what's right for them. So anyway, with that being said, I'm going to start with music and we'll crank these up and you should be able to hear the music pretty well on this side. And it's because it's open planar magnetic or open back planar magnetic. The bass is so tight. Let's get into this.
The future. The future. The future.
So, all right, time to pause it. I'm going to switch to the III TMA2s, which are again also $300. They are not Bluetooth though, so we're only going to be able to test them on one feature here, and that's using the same audio source, which is a Harman Kardon amplifier. Let's do this. These are actually a lot louder than those. So there's something that becomes very apparent when you do audio demos. When you do back-to-back, if you were to just listen to both headphones, you'd probably like them a lot. But outside of the norm, the Devas, because this planar magnetic diaphragm on it, or the driver on it, they are so damn accurate and tight that you hear way more details and intricacies in the audio source than you do on another headset. those are great headphones. The TMA2s are great headphones. I'm not here to knock a brand. They have their use cases. So those get louder, they have more bass and better power handling. However, at the same volume, the imaging that you get with this type of headphone, I haven't experienced anything like it. I have Audio-Technica, Lucid, Astro, the IIIs. I have a Sennheiser. In the $300 price range, this kind of headset is just so accurate that it's hard to go to anything else if this works in your environment. And what I mean by that is if you're in an office, probably don't want to go with these if you like to listen to your music at loud volumes. However, at lower volumes, it's really nice because you can hear people talking in the background in case someone's calling for you. So yeah, music-wise, imaging is really where these things shine, the detail and every subtlety in the note. So we're going to switch to a movie. After I switch the audio source again, let me get the right headphones plugged in. I'll start this chapter over. Yeah, crazy. Yeah, I mean, you hear everything. Let's try the TMA2s again to go back to back. You know, science, right? So one thing I'm noticing, even though I have to drive those a lot more, you tend to hear more. If these were at the exact same decibel level, same output, regardless of what your source volume is, if these are outputting the same level of volume, you hear more in these. That's the best way to describe it. They just require more juice to really get the most out of them. It sounds different. Like, so the receiver's at flat sound. I'm not modifying it any way, but it's almost like the source is a different source file because the way it outputs everything, especially on the mids and highs, these don't really distort on mids and highs, which is pretty damn phenomenal. You just like the wind instruments, if you will, on a chorus or something like that. You're going to hear everything. On a piano or on a guitar, you probably hear the fingers touching the strings more on something like this. That really says a lot. The next two things I want to test real quick before we call this, because I'll give you the final thoughts at the end here. There is a Bluetooth option and there's a USB DAC. I have the computer set up for a USB DAC. There's the USB-C cable that was included. We're going to plug this in. I changed my audio source on the computer, which it did automatically. I love it. That makes life easy. Let's plug these in. I'm going to play the same thing. I think it was this chapter. Let's see. Harman Kardon amp definitely has a bit more juice than this DAC. Okay, that's good for that. The sound quality is excellent. I think the biggest difference is the USB mode does not drive the speakers as hard, which is fine because you'll never get distortion. But I don't think you get quite as much as you can get out of these using the USB DAC. One thing I want to check is if I unplug this USB-C cable, how fast does it switch to Bluetooth mode? So let's check if the phone thinks it's paired. And if it is, that's pretty... Okay, the phone's paired. So we're going to launch Amazon Music here. Let's play something real quick. Let's see. Okay, so this is really interesting. The Bluetooth is louder. There's more signal to noise ratio on the Bluetooth side than there is on the USB side. They get significantly louder on Bluetooth. This bass is just so tight. The articulation of the whole spectrum of frequencies And the detail, it's ridiculous. So you don't, with these, I don't feel like you have to mess with the EQ too much to boost the volume, the bass, the treble. It's so good flat. It's just a different listening experience. For $300, usually you don't expect that difference of a listening experience at that price range, but this technology is just freaking phenomenal. You know, I guess, so here we go. The phones, not a lot of phones have a headphone jack. The ones that do, the headphone jack output on them is pretty crappy. They're very weak. So I wouldn't use that unless you absolutely had to. I love what HIFIMAN did with the Devas because they have a DAC built in. You can pair it with Bluetooth and get much better sound than what your phone ever would have made. You have the USB DAC mode if you're connecting to a computer and you're not fortunate enough to have a headphone amplifier. This just gets you going. I think that's the real focus here is this may not be the best audio solution to power this headset, but it gives you so many options. You have analog, you have Bluetooth, you have USB DAC. It's just having that flexibility with one headset is great. And this has a microphone built in too. That little hole, it's not a reset button, obviously. It's a microphone. I think I said it was a reset button earlier, but this gives you everything you need, guys, in one piece. And if you do want to get even more out of these headphones, I suggest buying a headphone amplifier for something like a computer source or whatever it may be. But I've been extremely happy with these. I use these for my production now because when I'm doing all my production work, I don't need extreme volume. I just need to hear everything in the background. If there's a hiss in the cable that I'm using or some background noise or whatever, this picks that up. And it's just such a joy to listen to at medium volume. So this headphone, admittedly, is not for everyone. Obviously, there's the design aspect. If you're not too crazy about the brown, there is no other color than this peanut butter brown color, if you will. Something like these, the IIIs, are better if you're like a DJ and you're at a club and you want louder volume. You need more power handling, and these will do that. However, it's at the sacrifice of audio accuracy. So if you don't have to blow your eardrums out with noise and you're happy at medium volumes, honestly medium to pretty high volume levels, it still gets loud. You're going to get rewarded with what I think is the best listening experience in $300. It's kind of like Martin Logan speakers versus definitive technology. The electrostatics on Martin Logan are such a specific sound, and if you're in that sweet spot, they're so good. Whereas the DefTechs are more universal. You know, something like that. These are basically like the Martin Logans of headphones as far as the accuracy goes and that level of detail and imaging. So anyway, guys, with that being said, I hope you found this review helpful. I hope I answered some questions you had. Again, I said this earlier, the build quality of these has been great. I've had no issues with durability. They've gone through quite a bit. The break-in period was awesome because I've enjoyed them from day one. I really haven't had to mess with them. And as always, I hope you found this review helpful. If you guys have any questions on these or other headsets and you want to know how it compares, shoot me a comment below. Be happy to answer them for you. Please like and subscribe. We have a lot of reviews and stuff coming out in the future. And as always, I'll see you next time.